Yo, alright, so last video I was talking about NES Lobby and Water 7, and this video, just to switch it up, get a little bit wacky, I'm going to be talking about an NES Lobby and Water 7. Now, I swear to God, I'm not becoming a One Piece channel, but I will talk about other things on later videos. But God, Usopp is just too badass and heart-melting to just not talk about. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jeremy, the video title is Best Fight in all of One Piece, or something along those lines. I haven't fully committed to a title yet. Why the fuck are you talking about Usopp? And to answer the question that you didn't ask, it's because I genuinely believe that Luffy v Usopp is one of, if not the best fights in all of One Piece. And before you start throwing your tomatoes and booing me,
Why you booing me? I'm right.
let me explain. You see, Usopp, since his introduction, has always been one of my favorite characters. The reason why is because you have your Luffy's trying to become the king of the pirates and fighting dragons and demigods in order to do so. Then you have Zoro fighting literal mythical creatures in order to become the world's greatest swordsman. But out of everyone on the crew, Usopp's goal is the most relatable because it is simply to become a man and a warrior that he can be proud of. And I feel like for many young men watching One Piece, their goal is pretty much the same. He's very relatable as a character. But it's not only his relatability that makes him so likable as a character, it's also his bravery and resilience. Now, after that sentence, I know what you're thinking. Did I just hit my head, or are we still even talking about the same show? But I'm serious when I say that Usopp is among the bravest in the crew. And the reason for this is because Usopp is scared. He's not like Zoro that only smiles in the middle of Mortal Kombat, or like Luffy that has fun and relishes the idea of life-threatening adventure. Usopp is scared. He runs, he cries, he whines, but he always steps up to the plate when it's needed of him. You see, Zoro and Luffy aren't brave. They love this shit. Calling them brave is like calling yourself brave every time you hop into a car because driving is dangerous. To quote Nelson Mandela, courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. That's why Usopp is so great, because out of almost all the characters in the crew, he is the most human. And that's why it was so cool to see him stand up to Luffy over something he cares for deeply, which was the Going Merry being replaced. It was so nice to see him be driven and motivated to do something confrontationally. But while I was reading this, I felt a creeping sense of sadness, thinking that when Usopp challenged Luffy to a fight over the Going Merry, that, and I mean this in the kindest way possible, Luffy was gonna beat the ever-living shit. But to my surprise, and probably everyone else's, Usopp was fucking Luffy up. It was insane to watch. The scared boy who used to lie to get out of situations and run on the side of danger was now standing up to a pirate captain over something that was precious to him. And he was in it, giving the fight his all, not giving an inch. Now, Luffy being, Luffy still won the fight, but it was bittersweet because, actually, bittersweet isn't the right word. There's nothing sweet about this, but you can't really say it was bitter. How would you even word that? But Luffy's victory was a bitter one. Fucking nail. Since Usopp left the crew afterwards and took the wrecked Going Merry with him. Now, Usopp is still a good guy, so he still helped out his crew for the rest of the arc. He just did so under a mask and an alias of Sniper King, which nobody bought, barring Luffy because he's clueless. Now, if you want to know more about NES Lobby and Water 7, I covered a bit of that arc in my last video, but for now, let's skip to the part where their problems are resolved and they're on their way off of Water 7. Now, the problem of Usopp not being officially in the crew still persists at this point. And by this time, the bad blood between Luffy, Usopp, and the crew had already been mostly resolved, so Luffy was gonna run on over and ask Usopp back on the crew. But Zoro stopped him. He explained to Luffy that letting people flip-flop on the crew and then running to go get them back can't be a norm for the captain, because if the crewmates are gonna risk their lives for one another, there has to be a level of trust and accountability, which is completely fair. If I'm in the middle of an active war zone, I don't want to be worried that the guy behind me is going to chuck up the deuces and leave at any time. So with a heavy heart, Luffy decides that if Usopp wants back on the crew, he's welcomed, but only after he takes accountability. And to be honest, what happens next is what makes the past fight of Luffy v Usopp so impactful to me, so much so that I actually went back and rewatched it after reading this part. Well, to be fair, I actually watched it for the first time because I originally exclusively read the manga, the based way to consume One Piece. But regardless, after the conversation of the crew talking about their former crewmate and how they were going to handle that, we cut to Usopp, and he had us in the first half, I'm not gonna lie. And the reason I say this is because when we cut to Usopp, he's going on about how he'll only rejoin the crew if Luffy begs him or if the crew cries for him. So now, we as the audience are like, fuck, this dumbass is gonna stay off of the crew for being a dumbass. But if you've seen any of the promotional material for One Piece recently, you know that Usopp stays on the crew. The way he does this is by doing exactly what Luffy and Zoro agreed upon. As the ship is departing from Water 7, Usopp shows up in tears, tells the crew that he was wrong and that he wants to go out to sea with them as a Straw Hat. So to recap, Usopp, the biggest wimp in all of the East Blue, was able to identify something that he wants to fight for, stood up to that thing against all odds, and even in discourse with his own friends was able to stand side by side with them and help them out. And at the end of the day was able to take responsibility for his actions and forego his pride. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like a man's man. You see, this is why this fight is so important to me, because to me, this is where Usopp became the warrior that he set out to be in the beginning when he joined the crew. And everything past this for Usopp, in my opinion, is just him realizing that that warrior man that he wants to be, he already is. And that just makes me like him even more. I know that Usopp may not be the strongest, but in my opinion, he's the bravest, he's the most resilient, but most importantly, he's the most human. Alright, so I really enjoyed making this video. I love Usopp so great. I know I'm not becoming a One Piece channel, I swear, like I said in the beginning of the video. I don't know what my next video should be about. I'm thinking maybe I want to make it about a romance anime because that's what I've been watching a lot of. I know you like romance, whatever, man. I'm thinking of Dress Up Darling. I'm thinking of Real Life that I watched recently that is ridiculously good. Oh my god. I don't know. Maybe leave down in the comments if you have a recommendation for me to talk about. I'll talk about any anime. I'll watch an anime to talk about. But yeah, I have so much fun making these videos. I'm trying to push out one a week. Kind of difficult to... Not difficult. I can do it. It's just I have a lot of things like school, gym, everything. It gets a bit tough. But one a week I should be able to do. I'm having so much fun with this. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, all the YouTuber jargon, algorithm, and the most important thing, if anything else, the most important thing, I hope you had a good morning.